Hi friends, it's Leilani. I recently took my very first trip ever to Mexico City. It has been on my list for years, and recently my friend Kristen moved there, so my friend VK and I flew out to see her. And here are all the noteworthy sightseeing spots, restaurants, museums, and so much more. There is an endless amount of things to do in this incredible city, so I hope you guys find this video helpful. So here I am on my way to the airport. I crossed from San Diego to Tijuana because I found that the domestic flights are much cheaper, and that's just one of the many perks of living near the border. So after a smooth 3.5-hour flight, I arrived in Mexico City. I arrived that evening and I Ubered to our Airbnb, and my friend VK flew in later that night after her work shift. So on our first full day in Mexico City, we just wanted to walk around and explore, so we started off in Roma Norte, which is a neighborhood that completely won my heart over. I would definitely recommend setting aside a day solely dedicated to walking around because there is so much to see. All the beautiful buildings, the nature, the parks, the street food, there's just so much to see. So we're in Mexico. This is day one of being in Mexico City. It's so colorful, so beautiful. We're about to meet with our other friend who's living here, and we're gonna get some brunch together. So we got brunch here at Panaderia Rosatta, which is a really famous cafe here, and my friend showed up with her croc keychain, mace, and Nidakuma sanitizer on her bag, and I just thought it was so funny. But I ordered a sandwich and golden milk here, but they're also very famous for their baked goods, so I would definitely try those out if you can. And after brunch, we decided to do a little bit of shopping. There are so many cool stores here in Roma Norte, Condesa area. They're definitely more of a hipster part of town. There was some record shops and also a lot of cool clothing shops. This one was called Hi Bye, and I just loved everything in here. I also loved their accessories. And for everything that I mentioned here in this video, I will make sure to link it down below. Something else I loved about Mexico City were the incredible parks. This one is Parque Mexico, and it was really close to the neighborhoods that we were walking in. This park is so green and luscious. It was a nice escape from the heat. And they had this really cute communal book corner. They had this large bookshelf and giant chest filled with books that you could borrow. I particularly liked the seating here. Love a swinging chair. I felt like an egg. But yeah, this is a really relaxing spot to read or journal, and this was my favorite part of the park. It was a really gorgeous spot for taking photographs. These magenta flowers were blooming all over the area. It looked so good. And it was so fun to just see people skateboarding. There were dance classes. I even saw some people doing yoga out here. Overall, just loved the vibes in this park. So on our second day in Mexico City, we went to Museo Nacional de Antropología. Sorry about my pronunciation. And this is located in Chapultepec Park, which I believe is twice the size of Central Park in New York City. This is one of the most famous museums in all of Mexico. If you're gonna go to any museum while visiting Mexico City, I highly recommend to check this one out. You can spend hours in this museum. They have an incredible amount of ancient artifacts from Aztec and Mayan civilizations. They have both an indoor and outdoor area, and it was just incredible to see how much there was, and really gives you an insight into Mexican history. And it was very affordable as well. Each ticket was, I believe, 85 pesos. And because we were already in Chapultepec Park, we thought we'd go ahead and check out the castle here. And I think this was one of my favorite parts about the entire trip. It was just so grand, so beautiful. This is one of the only royal palaces in all of North America, and it was built for a colonial administrator, so it's a very regal, luxurious, kind of European style palace. It was built all the way back in 1785 on top of a hill that was considered sacred for the Aztecs. I think the balcony of this castle is what really took my breath away and made this one of the most special moments in this trip. You could see everything from this balcony. It was really a $1 million view of Mexico City's beautiful skyline. My friends and I spent a substantial amount of time on this balcony, just taking in the amazing weather and view, and we noticed that there were so many butterflies flying around the flowers. Like, every part about this visit was perfect. And don't get me started on Palace Gardens, y'all. I love an over-the-top royal garden, baby. And I feel like all the shots I took didn't really serve it justice. It looks amazing in person. We really didn't want to leave, but once it hit 5 o'clock, it was time to close, so we were all booted out. Alright, day 3 in Mexico City. We of course started off our day with some brunch. This is Ojo De Agua. It was one of our favorite cafes. We actually ate here twice. It's so nice that dining is relatively affordable in Mexico City. I never felt like I had to splurge in order to eat amazing food. VK ordered the matcha pancakes. The mango here melts like butter, and I ordered a bean dish with egg. It was so delicious. Also, if you do ever come here, order a fruit horchata. VK got strawberry and I got guava, both just divine. After brunch, we took an Uber into the neighborhood Centro, which is about a 15-minute car ride outside of the area we were staying in. And I love this area way more than I was expecting. It definitely felt more crowded and fast-paced because there are so many tourist attractions here. Our first stop was Palacio de Bellas Artes. I know I keep saying this, but let's please take a moment to appreciate this mind-blowing architecture. This is a performance hall that's also a museum on the inside. They were lined with floor-to-ceiling murals, and some were even painted by Diego Rivera. And our timing could not be any better because as we were looking at the paintings, a performance began. After Bellas Artes, we started walking to our next tourist destination, and I was just soaking in how gorgeous Centro was. It's such a unique area because it almost looks like you're in Europe, but with the beauty and charm of Mexican culture. While in Centro, I really wanted to check out the cathedral here, and boy oh boy, I was not disappointed. This is a massive Roman Catholic cathedral, one of the biggest and oldest in Latin America. The entry is free, so I would definitely recommend anyone to check it out if you're here. Then we went to the Templo Mayor Museum. To my surprise, these are actual Aztec ruins right in the middle of the city. You can view them from the outside, but if you buy the museum ticket, you can actually walk through the temple grounds and see the preserved artifacts up close. The museum was so insightful and inspiring, but I forgot to take footage in there, so you'll just have to take my word for it. But this is an absolute must-see when in Mexico City. On our final full day in Mexico City, we Ubered out to Koyokan. It's about 30 minutes out and it's a really cute town with cobblestone streets, and we checked out their flea market before heading to our main destination for the day, the Frida Kahlo Museum, aka the Casa Azul. I didn't know much about Frida until I came here, and she just lived such a fascinating life. I think it's an absolute must-see. I wasn't able to take videos inside, but I took a lot of photos to keep for the memories. Hey friends! So I'm back home safe and sound from Mexico City. There's just a couple more tips and tricks that I felt like I didn't really get into that I would like to share here in case you guys have a couple more questions. So I only spent 5 nights in Mexico City, and I can already tell you that personally for me, that was not enough time. Even though my friends and I were able to pack in so much within those 5 days, there were still a couple of museums on my list and a couple sightseeing spots that we were not able to get to just because we didn't have enough time. So realistically, I wouldn't be mad even doing like a 2-week trip in Mexico City. You could definitely spend a substantial amount of time there. Another thing I wanted to touch on was transportation. As you guys probably saw, my friends and I did not use the subway system. They do have one. I did hear of instances of people dealing with like pickpocketing and stuff like that. So we just mostly stuck to walking just because I love walking. The weather was fantastic. And just because of the location of our Airbnb, we were pretty much at the edge of Roma Norte and Juarez. Like we were right there. So we were in such a prime location location that you could pretty much walk anywhere. I think that's one of the things that I loved about Mexico City. Anytime we were just tired of walking or it was really late at night, we pretty much just Ubered everywhere. Very affordable. I was really grateful for that. The other thing I wanted to touch on is carrying cash. So I personally didn't have any trouble using debit card at most restaurants, but if you're like me and you want to get that good street food, they're pretty much only going to accept cash. Also, just note that the bigger bill, the 500 pesos, a lot of places won't accept such a large bill unless you're making a really large purchase. So you could pretty much pay with your card. I just would recommend carrying a couple pesos around with you. And because we were discussing street food, I honestly felt like that trip was a bit of a food tour for me. I was just non-stop eating the entire time. The amount of tacos I managed to eat in 5 days is just absurd. And they're so inexpensive. I think each taco was like 40 pesos, 45 pesos. And the street food, don't get me started on the street food. Those fresh cut mangoes with the chile and limon. Also, it was my goal to get some corn off of the street. It's so delicious. You could get corn on the cob, but I had them cut it into a cup and then you mix it in with some mayo and chile, limon. So if you want to stay on the go and eat cheaply, I would definitely recommend the street food. But for the fresh food, just make sure you're actually seeing them being cut right in front of you, just because you don't really know how long they've been sitting out in the sun. And my friend told me that she's heard of a lot of people getting sick within like their first week of staying in Mexico City. So just keep that in mind if you're going to be getting fresh food. And if you guys like beverages like me, I have a couple notable mentions. If you want the best chai you've ever had in your life, go to Cafe Hule, I believe it's pronounced. It is kind of near Parque Mexico. We went there twice because the chais were just out of control. We got them with oat milk. I don't even know how to describe it. Just get an iced chai. You will not regret it. And also, if you like matcha and you like cocktails, go to this place called Loose Blues. It is a vintage store downstairs, but then upstairs is the restaurant. It's kind of like a Japanese Mexican fusion. It was really fun. You need to get this cocktail. I forgot the name. I will put it somewhere here. It is a gin and matcha cocktail. I know it sounds weird, but it's one of the most special, amazing drinks I've ever had in my life. And once again, do yourself a favor and get one of the fruit horchatas from Ojo De Agua. They're just hands down the best horchatas I've ever had. We tried the strawberry, guava, and even the mango ones. They were all just incredible. And last but not least, if you're wondering if you can travel throughout Mexico City without knowing much Spanish, I think the answer is yes. I was lucky enough that the friends that I was traveling with, Kristen and BK, they know Spanish, so they were pretty much helping me out with everything. However, most of the people that I encountered knew a little bit of English. I'm not saying everyone, but most people had a little bit of English ability. But obviously, like traveling to any country, it's gonna be much easier if you know a little bit of the native language. Did I take Spanish class for 3 years in high school and remember nothing? Yeah. So yeah, that was basically everything else I wanted to cover. I hope that gave you a couple helpful tips if you are also planning on traveling to Mexico City. I am already thinking about going back. I just thoroughly enjoyed my time so much, and I'm just so glad I was finally able to go to this city that has just been on my list for years. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment if you have any more questions. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.